Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to Fixing the Fish, and today we're doing something a little bit different. We have passed the 2-year anniversary of my channel, which originally started out as Darkman Fishing and then became Fixing the Fish. And I thought today that we would do some announcements and do some questions and just celebrate 2 years of the channel being up. When I first started the channel, I didn't know how long we'd be going, and here it is 2 years later. It's become a huge part of my life, and I'm very proud of the work that I've put out. And I hope that some of you guys have learned some stuff or gotten something useful out of these videos. So I thought I'd do some questions. A lot of times I'll get comments in the comment section, or even people in real life coming up to me that recognize me from the channel locally, and they'll ask me a lot of different questions, and I thought I'd answer some of them today. So the first one we're going to answer is, why is my name Darkman? And this is kind of a funny story. That name goes all the way back to 1994. I was in my 20s, and I had a group of friends that lived all together in a house, and every weekend they would throw parties. And we had a Super Nintendo, and I think Mortal Kombat 2 had come out not much longer before this story. But I was really good at Mortal Kombat 2. And every weekend I would show up Saturday night, and there'd be a line of people waiting to play me before I even arrived. And nobody really knew my name. They just called me the Mortal Kombat dude. I was almost unbeatable. I think I only lost twice in months of playing. But anyway, somebody was looking for me to challenge me, and one of my friends said, "He only comes out after dark, man." Well, another person heard the end of that conversation as Darkman, like the superhero, and he thought that was my nickname. So when I showed up that night, later in the evening, everybody started calling me Darkman, and that name has stuck with me all these years. I still have friends that call me that. I'm sure there's people that only know me by that name, and in some ways I sort of became that name. So the next question is, am I sponsored? Now this is kind of a difficult question. Technically I am, but I'm not. I haven't really picked up any sponsors, mainly because there's not many companies that I was interested in representing or promoting for, and a lot of these companies are just pro staff positions, and with pro staff a lot of times you get locked into a contract where you're obligated to buy their stuff for a certain amount of time, and you can really get in trouble if you don't. So I tend to read the fine print. However, I did apply for one sponsorship. It's called Go Fish Cam, and it seems pretty straightforward as far as sponsorship goes, but I simply can't afford the camera. Go Fish Cam is an inline camera, meaning it sits on your fishing line, you cast it out, and it takes video back to your camera using Wi-Fi, I think. But even with the sponsored discount, I just don't have the money to buy it, so I have not been able to promote that item the way I would like to. I wish I could, but I can't afford it. That might change at some point, but for now I'm kind of in limbo with that. And as far as anything else, I don't have any other sponsorships, and I'm not pursuing any, at least for the moment. Third question. Why do I have so few fishing spots in my videos? If you watch a lot of other YouTubers, you'll see them going different places every time. Where I live on the coast of North Carolina, it's very difficult to find fishing spots that are not saltwater brackish. And while we do have bass in the brackish water, they tend to be very stunted in the brackish water. So I'm very limited to spots that are, mostly pay spots around here, or the river. The problem with the river is that you have to have a boat. You have to have a real boat. The current's pretty strong, and all the shoreline is private land, so it's not like there's anywhere to go to bank fish. You have to have a boat. And the pay places are few and far between. There's only 2 in my local area, both of which I've fished, and then there's a third one which turned out to be pretty bad. But they all cost money, so nothing is really free, and it's very difficult to find new spots for me. Scariest moment. I'm sure a lot of people would automatically assume that the video I did with the scary wildlife and the water moccasin, that would probably be my scariest moment. But actually it isn't. I'm not particularly scared of snakes and even water moccasins. They're not super venomous. Of course it would be serious if you got bit by one, but you wouldn't die in minutes. You would probably need to get to a hospital and get some antivenom. I'm just not particularly scared of them. As a matter of fact, a couple days after I shot that video with the water moccasin, I was climbing over some rocks and I accidentally kicked a water moccasin into the lake. I didn't even know it was there. It was so well camouflaged. I booted the snake into the water and didn't even know it was there until I saw it swimming away. So ironically, the scariest moment I've ever had actually happened in Maryland 2 years ago, right after I did my first video, which was an MTB unboxing. My second video, I went to a lake in western Maryland. It was called Lake Merle, I want to say. And I was fishing the backside of this lake, which was adjacent to a housing development, and there was no parking. It was all tow-away stuff. I ended up having to park a quarter of a mile away. It was about 100 degrees. I had a full backpack, 2 fishing rods, and I had to hike in 100-degree weather down to this dead-end street. And then I had to climb down a cliff of stacked boulders. So I'm climbing down this thing. I'm already half dead after a quarter of a mile in 100-degree weather. Climbed down this sort of cliff of boulders, got down to where the water was. I fished for a good 3, maybe 4 hours. And by the end of that, I was so hot and lightheaded that I genuinely started to be concerned that I was going to pass out at the bottom of this basin below this dam, and that nobody would know where I was and I wouldn't be able to climb out because of the boulders. And I don't even think my wife knew where I was that day. And I think my phone was dying too, or it was getting pretty close to it. So that was a really disturbing feeling that I could be trapped down there and nobody would know. Definitely scary, and I think if I hadn't have left when I did, it would have been a possibility that I may have been trapped down there. My biggest fish. And this is another thing that kind of bums me out thinking about it. Earlier this year in February, I took a trip with a friend of mine that lives here in North Carolina. We went down to Lake Sutton in his bass boat, and we went fishing on Lake Sutton. It was a really warm day, and I caught that 7-pound bass that's in my thumbnail picture. I don't have a video of it. Honestly, when I went out on the boat, I wasn't expecting a lot. It was February, even though it was abnormally warm. I really didn't think we were going to get on the fish, but we did find them. They were up shallow on a little island, and I hooked into that 7-pounder and brought that fish in on very, very light line. I think it was an 8-pound test line that I brought that fish in, and it was over 7 pounds. I think it was like 7.5. One of the greatest moments in my fishing career, I think. Next question. Why don't I show subscriber count? Subscriber count, when I first started my channel, I did show subscriber count, but after a while I started to realize that people judge your channel by the amount of subscribers you have, and that they tend to take your channel a little more seriously if they don't know what your count is. And I have a respectable count. I will say it's below 1,000. Unfortunately, it's below enough where I can make an income doing these videos. But it's respectable enough that if I wanted to show the number, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But, you know, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think when you don't have enough subscribers, people tend to take you less seriously. And when you have too many, then they expect you to deliver content like this is your job, which kind of brings me to another thing that I'll get into at the end of the video. Let's see. Least favorite type of fishing and lure. I don't like fishing deep water, and my least favorite method of fishing deep water would probably be stroking spoons on the bottom. I just find it to be very dull. It's just a very dull type of fishing. It's lift it up, let it drop, drag it. Just not very exciting. You don't get a lot of feedback from fishing really deep, and I would prefer to fish shallow and have more action. Favorite YouTuber? Definitely Matt Allen and Tim Little from Tactical Bassin. They're my favorite channel. A lot of people I've talked to said that they don't necessarily like that channel because they can't relate to them being as they're in California, but I find that a majority of their techniques that they talk about do apply just about anywhere in the country, at least everywhere in the country that I've fished to date. I just think that they're really innovative and they do some really great videos. Our next one, favorite lure or bait? Definitely would be swim baits. I love any kind of swim baits, paddle tail, multi-jointed, magnums, you name it. I'll fish any kind of swim bait, and the reason I love that is you can fish it in any part of the water column. You can fish it on the bottom, you can fish it in the middle, you can fish it on the top. They're really versatile, and you can't really go wrong with a bait fish imitator. And the last question, this kind of ties in with what I was saying a little bit before. Why do I smoke in my videos? I think that's one of the number one complaints I get about my videos. And while I agree it's a terrible habit to have, and I definitely don't promote or suggest people smoke. First of all, the demographic for my channel is between 35 and 45 years old. I have very few younger viewers, and the ones that I do have seem to be older teens, so I'm sure that they've seen people smoking. And like I said, I don't go out of my way to promote this or show it, but if it shows up in the video, it's only because I'm just being myself in my video. It's a bad habit, but I do it, and I do it when I smoke, and I don't go out of my way to show it, but if there's something important happening in the video, I'm not going to cut it off because there's a cigarette in it or I'm smoking or whatever. I think people have an expectation that I'm supposed to act a certain way, like some of these big name YouTube stars that are getting paid to do their videos. I pay for my own videos. Everything comes out of my own pocket. I get zero help. I get nothing from YouTube. No sponsors, everything comes out of my own wallet, and I enjoy smoking as much as it's terrible for me and it's hurt me physically. It's something I like to do when I'm fishing, and you know, I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm not a professional. I've never claimed to be. I'm not a role model. I've never claimed to be, and people can either take that or leave it, and everything you see in my videos is me, you know, genuine me. I'm not putting on an act. I'm not putting on a show. Who you see is who I am in real life. And with that comes the bad as well as the good. So I think that's going to cover it. I talked about everything I wanted to talk about as far as those questions. I do have some other stuff going on in my life. I recently fished a fishing tournament after about a decade. I competed in a brim fishing tournament. Locally at the quarry. I had a partner who showed me a lot of cool stuff as far as brim fishing, and we ended up taking second place. We got beat out by half a pound. It was 10 brim total weight, and we had 5 something, but we were beat by a half a pound for those 10 fish. It was really exciting, and I look forward to it. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do any videos on it because this is an ongoing competition, and my partner is sharing his sort of tricks and secrets with me with this spot. It's not something I can put on YouTube because our competitors may be watching and sort of stealing my partner's secrets. And locals do watch this channel, so sorry guys, I can't give up our secrets. Also, some other interesting things going on, and this will affect the channel in the future. My wife is expecting our second child. It's a little girl. Never had a daughter before, so I'm really excited about that. She is due in January, and I'm not really sure how that's going to affect the channel. It will obviously affect the channel, but I think I can still swing doing videos, maybe just not as often as I would like. The cool thing about where I live is we can fish all year round here and never really gets super cold. So things may slow down a little, but we'll still be here. So anyway, thanks for joining me for the celebration of 2 years of my channel, Darkman Fishing, and now Fixing to Fish. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I answered some questions that may have been on your mind. If not, I hope you learned some interesting things about me. And if I get a positive response, we may do this again down the road. So thanks for watching, guys. Happy anniversary.